The Denver Broncos get more news regarding their divisional playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. What's going on, Broncos country? It's your boy Denver Trap back here with another video. Today we're going to be showcasing all the updates with the Buffalo Bills, all the updates between the Broncos, and what you can expect for the divisional round. I want to say this video is dedicated to my boy Hunter that passed away and went to heaven today. He battled with muscular dystrophy for the majority of his life, and today at 27 years old, he went to go be with the Lord. And before we jump into the actual episode, he knew that I was a big Denver Broncos fan. He was a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, and he told me on Thursday when I talked to him, and he kind of gave me the news that he wouldn't be here much longer. He said, "Travis, I'm going to be in heaven rooting for the Broncos to win the Super Bowl." And it touched me, man. Let's talk about the big situation that's currently going on in Buffalo with this Buffalo Bills receiving core. The Bills receiver situation right now, they have three guys: Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks, and Keon Coleman. Curtis Samuel is on the IR, but returning to practice. McCole Hardman is on the practice squad. Christian Wilkerson's on the practice squad. And Steven Gosnell is on the practice squad. But if you look at the guys that they've lost, Gabe Davis and now Tyrell Shavers, it looks like that the receiving core is pretty much depleted at this point. I've seen on Twitter some Bills fans saying, hey, they need to go out and get Trent Sherfield. He played for the Broncos this year. Well, the Patriots did it before they could. The Patriots signed veteran wide receiver Trent Sherfield Sr. to the practice squad, so he will be on New England. I think this is kind of a strategy for if New England plays Denver in the AFC Championship, they'll have Trent Sherfield that knows a little bit about Sean Payton, knows a little bit about the Broncos, and I think this may be a pretty solid pickup for depth for the New England Patriots. Dalton Kincaid, Terrell Bernard, Josh Allen, Matt Milano, and Greg Rousseau will all be limited at today's practice. Damar Hamlin will practice in full for the Bills. Jordan Poyer, Max Harrison, and Ty Johnson did not practice today as well. Bills head coach Sean McDermott talked about the injuries as well, which is a challenge going against Denver. He said, yeah, we're going to need everybody. It's a great team, the number one seed in the AFC. We're at third place. It's the type of game you've got to be able to do what you can 1 through 11th at a very high level. We've got a hill we have to climb. And he's 100% right. You're playing in Denver. Not only is it a disadvantage because you're on the road, you're playing the one seed team that has the best home record in the AFC, and you're also playing in the altitude, and you're also playing on a short week while the Broncos had a long week. The Buffalo Bills are absolutely banged up at the absolute worst time out of any team in the playoffs. Josh Allen is also nursing a foot injury. We'll have to see how that impacts his mobility against this elite Denver Broncos D-line and elite defense that's going to be getting pressure the entire game. So we'll have to see how this works, how his mobility looks. Is this foot going to be fully healed? Is he going to be able to run the ball consistently as he does? We're going to have to wait and see on that. Mike Kliss gave us an update on Brandon Jones. He said, update per source, Broncos safety did have a surgery to repair his pec, suffered at the end of the first half versus Green Bay on December 14th. Some chance he can return to Super Bowl 60 if the Broncos make it that far. That would be 7 weeks from the date of the injury, and P.J. Locke has been the guy filling in for Brandon Jones. Getting Brandon Jones back in the Super Bowl would absolutely be amazing. I know everybody is saying, oh, P.J. Locke's a liability. P.J. Locke's not that good. I think P.J. Locke's okay, but I think if you have Brandon Jones, there's a totally different outlook on this defense for the postseason. I think either way, this defense is going to do really well in the divisional round, and I think they're also going to do really well in the Super Bowl when you look at how good they've been, how they get after the quarterback, and I think the Benito All-Pro snub is going to come into effect as well. I think that you're going to see him fly around. I think he's going to have a big postseason game. Drew Sanders participated in practice after being designated to return off IR. Dre Greenlaw has officially returned to practice and participated in the Broncos practice today. John Franklin Myers practiced today after missing the season finale. Lucas Kroll has been designated to return off the IR and practice today. The Broncos gained 21 days to either activate him or place him on a season-ending IR. Garrett Bowles practiced today, which is a great sign because I know a lot of people were worried about the injury, the ankle injury. Garrett Bowles seems good to go. J.K. Dobbins did not practice today, and I'm actually not too shocked because a lot of people were saying he was going to come back the divisional round, and I kind of figured that it would be the AFC Championship if the Broncos make it that far. Zach Stevens put out a tweet, and he said, it was a massive benefit for the Broncos to get the 1 seed in the bye, but it feels more beneficial after watching how close all these games in the wild card have been. And I absolutely agree with Zach Stevens. The Broncos were one of those teams that played a lot of close games, and they won a lot of close games, the most in the NFL. So when you look at that, I personally believe this is a huge benefit for the Broncos because we've seen the Chicago Bears, a team that's kind of been similar to the Broncos in winning those close games and coming back in the fourth quarter and they won their first playoff game. So I think the Broncos absolutely benefit from the close games, but also a massive benefit for having the 1 seed in the bye. Looking at the way the Buffalo Bills are all banged up, you don't want to be on the other end. So, yeah, it's a great thing that the Broncos landed where they did. Sean Payton said home field advantage is important relative to the crowd noise. I know our crowd will be fantastic, which is absolutely true. Because if you've ever been to Empower Field, it don't matter if it's week 1, playoff game, it's absolutely roaring in there and always rocking. Coach Payton also said we've got to earn a fast start and take advantage of energy and the rest. Sean Payton said myth number 3, postseason experience is important. So he's basically taking a jab at, these guys that have been in the postseason, have never done nothing. Maybe a Justin Herbert. You never know. Sean Payton was asked about being the number 1 seed and being the underdogs. He said, we don't pay attention to that, honestly. So that kind of just tells you the motive this Broncos team has. There's only one goal in mind, and it's to hold up the Lombardi in February. As we know, Mike Tomlin left the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sean Payton makes note of a great run that Tomlin had with the Steelers and calls him a close friend. Could this be something that we see in the future in Denver? Denver traded for Sean Payton after he went to Fox. Could we see Mike Tomlin go to Fox and then, say Vance Joseph gets a job and Denver says, hey, Tomlin, we want you to be our DC. Sean Payton and Mike Tomlin sounds like a dream come true as a coaching duo. More than likely probably won't happen, but the idea and the dream and the thought of that, it just makes me smile. Sean Payton was also asked if Brandon Jones could play again this postseason. He said, I don't think so. I don't think so. So it kind of seems like that Brandon Jones is done for the year. Sean Payton on what he wants from the Broncos fans on Saturday. The noise level needs to be the loudest when they enter the huddle. He asked for that on all snaps the Buffalo Bills are on the field. That's a huge advantage. And he's absolutely right. If Josh Allen struggles to get the play call off and there's any sort of confusion in the huddle, that helps the Denver Broncos defense. And they're probably more than likely going to get a couple takeaways on this game. Broncos wide receiver 1 Cortland Sutton on the Broncos mindset. He said, we're not done. There's still more on the table, and this is what you want from your guys. You want your guys to be hungry for more, and this is absolutely the culture that Sean Payton has built in this Denver Broncos locker room, is they want more, they're hungry, and they want to win that Lombardi in February. All I'm going to say is don't be surprised when the overdogs win this game in Denver. Luka Evans put out a tweet. He said, I've said this before and been wrong, but I think Jahdae Barron might have a pretty big role versus Buffalo on Saturday. Quietly played 41% of Denver's defensive snaps the last 2 weeks, and he's played in a bigger nickel package role, and essentially versus James Cook and Josh Allen in the Bills' run game, Jahdae Barron may have a huge role against this Buffalo Bills team. If you enjoy Denver Broncos content, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. It helps recommend me to more Bronco fans like yourself. And go Broncos. Cortland Sutton says he's already watched the Broncos-Bills playoff game from last year twice and will watch it again. There's a lot to learn from it. He added it's very beneficial to watch the Broncos offense versus the Bills defense. And if you remember that game last year, Bo Nix had a pretty good game. However, the receiving corps did not, so hopefully they have a reverse game of what they had against Buffalo in Buffalo last year, and they actually catch passes that hit them in the hands, because I felt like there were so many yards lost to drops in that game last season, and I think that's kind of what Sutton's talking about here. There's so much to learn from that game and so much to improve with this game going into the divisional round on Saturday. Sutton also talks about how it's very important for them to get the home playoff game and says the Broncos earned it. They absolutely did. 14 wins, 1 seed, AFC West champs. They absolutely earned the bye and earned the chance to have the playoffs in the AFC run through Denver.